everybody, welcome to this playthrough for Rookie Division in the St. Patrick's Tournament. The video here is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. And before we start, we need to have in mind that we're gonna play a mix of the Drummoor Links and the Glenmonarch Estate. You can practice the Glenmonarch Estate on tour number 4 and the Drummoor Links on tour number 5. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You have a button in the bottom right corner. Click it and become a subscriber here on the channel. Also, go to patreon.com/golfclashtommy to be a part of our packages there that will improve your game. Last but not least, we do have a Discord where you can ask me or any other high-level players in the game on Discord. You know, link to Discord as well is in the description down below. Okay, so info box on the right hand side, we do have elevation for every shot that we are going to take, uphill, downhill adjustment, or just not using elevation at all. We do have what type of ball I would suggest you to play with if I would choose myself, if we were having every type of ball, you know. Then we do have the clubs at the bottom there, which I consider could be key clubs to maximize opportunity for you to get a drop, or maybe just to get that eagle that would be difficult with other type of clubs. But in the end, enjoy the video, have fun. Don't forget to comment if you do have any questions. So let's go with hole number 1. In this video, as I said, we're going to play a par 3. And the par 3 is going to play with either the backbone or the Goliath. It doesn't really matter which, because you will still have the distance with both. We're playing with max side spin here, with a side spin 1 ball, a Marlin, combined with a couple of bars backspin. So approximately 2 to 3 bars of backspin, and then 2.5 bars side spin to the left. Aim for the hole, and we're using the right part of the fairway. Obviously, with a Goliath or a backbone, the rings will be having different size, because they have a different accuracy. More accuracy, the smaller ring sizes, and that's the same for, you know, higher accuracy club, the bigger the rings is gonna be. Aim for the hole and adjust that ball for medium distance with a 15% over adjustment, and then you're gonna be close. Very tough hole to get an hole in 1 on, but if we can get that close continuously, we're definitely going to see that drop from time to time. Here we go, and we're gonna take a look first at the drive, and we're gonna play on the left hand side with basically every type of wind, if we're not having like a severe headwind in our face. Why do we do that then? The reason we do that is because if we can play down there on the left hand side, the second shot is going to be way easier to handle, because we are not going to have to play with any type of elevation. Now we do play with max topspin. We want to clearly make sure that the second bounce is going over the rough. Maximum distance with a 10% over adjustment. Once we have done that, we push up our target into max, and then it's time to take our shot. In a headwind, or maybe in a crosswind, it could be valuable to go with a teeny tiny bit of overpower, so you make sure that you get it over properly. We get it down there, we get it to approximately 365 yards. In this case, we get to 366, and that will leave us up to a very nice and a super good opportunity with our short iron. So it's either the Thorn or the Hornet. Me personally would go with the Thorn, as then you do have a decent amount of backspin already, and you don't have to aim that close to the rough with your first bounce. Aim for the hole, adjust your club range distance, so when you measure your club distance, you are going to play it for what it is. So in this case, we play medium distance with no elevation whatsoever. And you can see here now, it's flat, and that's the thing you don't get on the right hand side. If you play on the right hand side, you're going to at least play with a 10% over adjustment. So me personally believe left side if the play, if not the wind is really, really bad, and we are forced to play on the right hand side. So hole number 3 is a par 5, and we're playing with a Titan ball, and now the plan for us here is to just lay up as close to the top rough possible. And the reason we're gonna play that type of route is, like, if we're gonna play right, it's going to require a lot of curl to get there, and curl is always going to be very tricky to be spot on with. It's very hard to replicate as well. We can, with a very nice tailwind and a par 5 ball, we can clear the rough on the top as well. It's going to be difficult, especially with lower level clubs, but that is an option. But the more generic way of, or like general way of playing, is to lay up as close to the rough there at top as possible, maximum distance with a 10% over adjustment. And you could see that I'm playing with a quarterback instead of using my extra mile. The reason I play with my quarterback is to give myself a better accuracy and also a better ball guideline, which will make me have an easier time making the drive. Second shot, we're playing with a club that gives us the most distance possible, and in our case, it's the big dog. So we use as much side spin right possible with a teeny tiny bit of top spin, and now we're aiming for the fairway platform here. The thing that we're looking for here is not really an albatross, because if we're gonna get the albatross, we're gonna have to become a bit lucky. But the thing that I'm looking for is to nicely get to green and have a simple eagle putt. So, just to summarize this one real quick, we will be able to clear the rough on top and give ourselves a much better time when it comes to approaching the pin if we do play with more superior clubs or maybe superior balls. But the general way is to lay up and then give ourselves a shot from distance, but do not expect an albatross. Take the eagle, as many of your opponents will miss the eagle on this tough par 5. Minus 10% for the second shot, which means that we play uphill and the ball is going to be affected less by the wind. So let's take a look at hole number 4. Hole number 4 is a par 3, and here we are going to play for the rough bump. You can see that our opponent here is playing complete minimum distance, not really thinking about it, but we at least will be giving this one a proper thought. Play with a basic ball or a Marlin. I do think that is correct, because I don't see the need of any side spin whatsoever. The only thing that could be valuable is obviously to reduce the wind a little bit, and that's why I'm going with a Marlin, which is easy to get in free chest and pin chest and stuff like that. So, Sniper if you have it in level 4+, otherwise Viper. We aim directly at the hole using approximately 1.5 bar backspin. Now we're using half a bar of backspin only, and in a crosswind I would say a 1 bar backspin would be more accurate. The thing that fools me is that I'm not having a fully developed ball guideline with the Viper, so it feels like it's gonna fall short, but we're actually gonna come in pretty hot. Medium distance with a 20% over adjustment is what we do want to play this hole at. The ball comes up in the air, and as I do play maximum distance and not medium distance, make us miss to the left hand side here. So, in a tailwind, 1.5 bar backspin, and crosswind 1 bar backspin, in a headwind, half a bar of backspin, and then you're gonna be very close. I do feel this is an extremely good opportunity to get an hole in one, or at least get it very, very close from front tee. So, for hole number 5 here, we are going to play with the extra mile and a power 1 ball. We put ourselves up to maximum distance of our club with the red ring by the rough line. Max top spin, which is 4.5 bars, and as much side spin to the right possible with a side spin 2 ball, which also is 4.5 bar. 10% over adjustment is what we need to do, because we play this one slightly downhill, and then the ball is going to be affected more by the wind. As you notice, I play left side here. The reason being is because I have the second shot dialed in from left side, and also looking at the wind, having a more direct tailwind, or like a straight tailwind or a straight headwind for the second shot will help immensely when it comes to adjusting for the pin for the second shot. Going on the right hand side here, as our opponent is doing, it's not wrong, it's just a different way of approaching the pin. Because if we would be having wind that would be pointing like now, we would be having a straight tailwind or a straight headwind for the second shot going right, that would obviously be the way to play if so, because then the second shot would be easier, as it's always going to be easier to play, you know, directly in the wind or directly against the wind instead of having crosswind. Now we aim for the hole. We're not going to use any elevation whatsoever. Very important to check how, like, what your club range are. Like, are you in minimum distance of your club? Are you in medium distance? Are you in maximum distance? And then trying to adjust from there. I'm not using any spin for the second shot, which is a normal procedure that I'm using, like to try to just have natural bounces towards the pin. So no spin, we adjust, and then it's time to take our shot. Perfect ball, and the ball is coming in here. We can see that we get it nicely zoomed out, right, almost right at the pin for a nice little eagle. This is going to be a very good chance, if not the best chance in the whole tournament, to get something extra to drop. So take it carefully, focus, hit the ball perfect, and then you're gonna be fine. So on hole number 6, we are going to start by playing with the driver that gives us the most distance and topspin. Distance is the most important part to look at, and then after that we would like to look at topspin, like having a club that has both, you know, big plus. Maximum distance with a 20% over adjustment is what we're doing for the drive, and it is very important here to play with a power 3 ball, especially for the drive, as with a crosswind or a headwind you can see that even if we are in maximum distance here, we would have a problem with a headwind on this course. Once you have made your adjustment, you push up your targeting to max. The reason we do that is to be able to stay away from using overpower in tailwind, and we can then maximize the distance that we're getting. The ball, we want to roll past the rough sides there and go as far down on the fairway possible. Second shot, we play with the sniper or the viper. I would play with the sniper if I have the sniper level 4+. Otherwise, I would go with the viper, as I do feel that that's the cutoff that I'm looking for in terms of choosing what type of club. Now we're going to play this one slightly uphill. So we're going to use an uphill adjustment here of -10%. So not much, but we need to have in mind that from the place that we're shooting from now, you can see here now, we're shooting it slightly uphill, and then the ball is going to be affected less by the wind. I'm going for a rough bump, which is an aggressive route. You don't have to go for a rough bump if you don't want to. You can play with curl and curl it in towards the pin, but giving ourselves the best chance for an albatross here would be for the rough bump, as the lower level clubs kind of limit ourselves for what we can do for the second shot. I do not see or expect people making albatrosses here, but at least we have a chance with the rough bump, and that chance would be nice if we could take from time to time, and putting ourselves in a very nice spot after hole number 6. So let's take a look at hole number 7. We're going to play with the extra mile using 4.5 bar topspin and 4.5 bar side spin to the left. And this is actually perfect to play with a driver with the distance of the extra mile. It doesn't have to be an extra mile level 5, it can be a lower level driver as well. We're going to aim and look at the second bounce. That's kind of my focus here. Second bounce should be on the fairway, but fairly close to the rough line on the left, because the fairway kind of turns to the left, and then I do believe that's going to be very important to do. Then we adjust maximum distance with a 10% over adjustment, and also push up to max, because we do want to gain distance. And therefore, instead of having to use overpower, we push up our targeting to max, and that's going to help us more. So now you can see our opponent is going to play the second shot as we are going to do, and our opponent is having the Hornet. You don't have to play with the Hornet, you don't have to play with the Thorn, you can play with whatever short iron you might have. The important part though is to have in mind that the second shot is played uphill. There is a lot of uphill adjustments in this tournament, in the St. Patrick's tournaments, at least more than we're used to have. So -10% because the ball is going to be affected less by the wind, and therefore we have to adjust less rings. So my turn, and you can see that I have picked the absolute wrong club here. I'm using the beginner short iron, but you're gonna notice that the short iron doesn't really matter, like not in terms of getting it close. But if you're gonna get it in the hole, I would suggest you to play with the Thorn or the Hornet, which is in my book two of, if not the two best short irons it is out there. And you know, one tip as well here would be to actually use the fringe when you're playing here. I do not like to use the fringe generally, but there is some glitchy spots on the fairway, so using the fringe for your first bounce is actually going to be fairly helpful. So let's take a look, and we're going to play from front tee as already explained. And now we are going to play with, you know, depending on wind, we're going to play with different type of clubs here. And you can see that I actually suggest the big dog in the info box on the right hand side on a par 3, where it's very, very rare that I do that. Reason is the topspin. Because playing with Viper here in this type of wind will not make the ball go all the way to pin. So we do need to use a club that has at least 2.5 bar topspin on it to use. So 2 and a click topspin here for the big dog. We're aiming deliberately slightly to the right side of the green, because the right side kind of pushes our into the center. If we aim on the left side, we're gonna be pushed out to the right. So to get the hole in one here, we need to aim slightly to the right there of the green, and then we aim with the yellow ring just before the fringe. We're gonna bounce into the rough, and we're gonna roll up very, very nicely for a hole in one. Minimum distance with a 10% over adjustment. And once again, the big dog is used due to us need topspin. And obviously in a tailwind we don't need as much topspin as we do in a headwind, but it could be good to just have that in mind, because that was a lesson I learned standing there on tee, sitting there with my Viper and not being able to reach for the pin. And that is the absolute worst case scenario when we do pick the wrong club and we are kind of dead to making the hole in one at least. So let's take a look at hole number 9, and here we are going to, with this type of wind, we're going to push this drive very hard. Tighten ball, driver that gives us the most distance, 4.5 bar topspin, and then we're gonna go max overpower. Plan here is to get the ball to bounce over the rough and the sand to get over to the second fairway. Why do we want to do that? The reason is, otherwise we cannot reach even remotely close to the green whatsoever. Max distance with a 10% over adjustment, and this shot is only applicable if you do have tailwind. If you do have crosswind or you have headwind, you have to lay up before the rough and the sand and then play from there. And that's why I'm having 3 elevation numbers on the side there. It's for shot 1, 2 and 3, because if we do have a headwind or a crosswind, which is very likely, or let's say that you do mess up your drive, then you are also going to play 3 shots from distance. Then you play the drive 10% over adjustment, second shot no elevation whatsoever, and then the third shot actually 10% downhill that as well, because the green stands on like a slight type of bowl-like area, which is something that we're gonna come to in just a bit. Now, second shot, choose the big dog. You need the distance. You need a lot of distance and you need a lot of curl. So I'm using 5 bars of topspin here and as much side spin to the right possible, aiming very, very close to the rough line. And then we're going to put ourselves in max distance using max curl right. And also, we're going to most likely use a little overpower. It depends, obviously, what type of wind we're gonna have. If we do have a more crosswind type of wind, we would be going with a decent amount of overpower. Now, with kind of a direct tailwind, we should be okay with not going with overpower whatsoever. Max curl right, you can see we're just there by the right hand side of the rough. We're not getting to green, but I'm not expecting us to get to green. I'm expecting us to be fairly close to the green, so we have to play with a wedge. As you can see here, our opponent did not reach whatsoever, and then our opponent just have to lay up here on the fairway. Unfortunately, it's going to be very difficult to reach further than this, but on that fairway, the third fairway part, you can reach for the green easily to at least claim a birdie. So this is going to be a very interesting hole in my opinion, especially to end up with, because the eagle is not a 100% guarantee here. That is something that you will only get by making a very good drive and then also making a very good second shot, so you can position yourself for the third shot playing with either the wedge or with a short iron. And then we're going to add the 10%. As you can see that the pin stands slightly down below than what would be on normal green when it's completely flat. Tough wedge is a pressure wedge. Get it in, make the eagle, be very happy. There will be plenty of people missing this eagle and only going to get a birdie. Perfect ball, and we zoom out and we get in for a lovely little eagle here on hole number 9. Thank you so much for watching this playthrough for the Rookie Division in the St. Patrick's Tournament. You can get more content on golf-tommy.com for the St. Patrick's Tournament or any other tour, and also don't forget to go to Patreon and get the text guides already. Link to Patreon is in the description down below. Video here is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. Thank you so much for watching and good luck in the tournament.